My name is Ryan Chess, and my TED Talk is on how we need to stop closing drag strips to build new homes. What exactly is the issue? 50 to 80 years ago, what we did was urban planning. Drag strips right outside the cities were too loud and caused disturbances, so we moved them anywhere from 20 to 50 miles outside of town and established an urban boundary line. Essentially, it is a border that no houses can be built past to prevent the tracks from having to put noise ordinances in place so that they could operate on as many days and on whatever times of day or night that they wanted. Now, land and development and home building companies are trying to push past that urban boundary line in a blatant attempt to shut the tracks down in search of providing even more homes for the rich and wealthy. Effective facilities. Houston Raceway Park in Texas, Bandimere Speedway in Colorado, Atlanta Dragway in Georgia, Heartland Motorsports Park in Kansas, all NHRA-sanctioned facilities have been fully or partially demolished because of this issue. Bradenton Motorsports Park in Florida is in a legal battle to get an application that will effectively destroy the track's operations completely denied. Over the next few slides, we'll take a look at the accurate and estimated, because they aren't usually public information, urban boundary lines, the neighborhoods and shopping districts that sit within them, and why their placement is a blatant shot to get the tracks shut down. Houston. Here is my estimate for what would be the urban boundary lines surrounding Houston Raceway Park. Boundary lines traced in purple, the track is boxed in green, and the neighborhood is circled in red. If you'll notice, the cars travel north away from the neighborhood that now sits directly behind the starting line. But the exhaust on just about every single race car is pointed some form of backwards. So that neighborhood hears everything that touches that surface. Atlanta, once again, purple, green, red. Once again, the track is pointed away from the town, in this case, Commerce, Georgia, but notice all of the space on the sides and in front of the track. Once again, very convenient placing considering the land available. Heartland. We now come to Heartland Motorsports Park in Topeka, Kansas. Yes, there is a neighborhood behind the track, but it also sits directly next to Topeka Regional Airport, which on any normal day, say for an NHRA weekend, which was once a year, the airport makes infinitely more noise and is closer to the neighborhood. Bandimere in Colorado. Arguably one of the most iconic racetracks in the country, Bandimere Speedway was forced to close and move locations due to the expansion of Rooney Valley and the potential of, stated from the news, a used car dealership and a grocery store. Bradenton. Our last facility in question is Bradenton Motorsports Park. They haven't had to change anything as of yet, but their efforts in court failed and houses are already being built past the urban boundary line. The application was approved in mid to late 2023. The yellow is the proposed development, tracks boxed in green. That was the old urban boundary line, and that was track in green. Why should we care? With the right promoters, prize purse, and drivers on the property, drag racing can be an enormous draw for spectators. Fans in the stands equals booked up hotels and Airbnbs, packed restaurants, gas pumps under heavy use, and local businesses getting checked out by curious visitors that otherwise would have never seen the customers. Paired with the right kind of fans, it can also create a positive environment for the teams. If fans know a car just won its personal best, they cheer. Someone saves a car from crashing, they give applause. Every single final round, even if their favorite driver didn't win, they cheer in the winner's circle celebration. How you can help. Overall, drag racing is a socially healthy sport, but land developers want to build houses to close local tracks down. The ways that we can prevent these applications from getting through are to find out when the county court hearing is, show up, and respectfully voice your opposition to the application and say a few words about why. If you can't make it in person, send an email to each of the county commissioners in your area with your opposition to the application. These simple steps can keep local tracks in operation and keep racers off the streets. Top left is Heartland Motorsports Park. Top right is Houston. Bottom left is Bandimere. And bottom right is Atlanta. That is Bradenton. Closer to home. Bottom left is Maryland International Raceway. Bottom right is Mason-Dixon Dragway. Top right is Virginia Motorsports Park. My final words about this are all of those pictures were of tracks that we discussed today and tracks close to us here in the DMV at their maximum sold-out capacities. They have sold out hundreds of times and will continue to, just like every other racing facility in the country. I have one more thing to say about this. In the case of Bradenton, they wanted to build 3 homes per acre, which would equal out to about 4,500 homes. The owner of the circle track next to Bradenton Motorsports Park, Garrett Mitchell, when he went to the county commissioners meeting, he said this: "If I came to you county commissioners today and I said that I wanted to build 2 big, loud racetracks next to 4,500 homes that had stood there for 50 years, would you approve it? And if the answer to that is no, then this is not a compatible use of the land." That's all I have to say. We cannot let drag racing die just to build houses for people with more money than brains. Thank you.
Excuse me if I missed this in your presentation. I really like this presentation, by the way, a lot. Like, it was very informative to me. I was not aware that this was an issue. In your presentation, did you mention, or even if you did mention, do you know of drag racing strips that have been closed? Like, what are the ones that have already been closed?
All of those besides Bradenton and the ones that are here in Virginia that I mentioned, all of those are closed currently.
Okay, so the one in Houston?
Yes. Topeka, Houston, Bandimere, Atlanta are all closed.
Yeah. So, were new facilities built to replace them in some cases, or not in others?
The only ones that I'm aware of are Heartland, and the Bandimere family is planning to build one, but I don't think they're gonna finish that for a couple of years. So.
Okay. Does the local government give them any kind of financial incentive to help them build the new one, since they're the ones making the move?
The companies buy the facilities and then tear them down, but that's really it. I mean, if they choose to build a new facility, that's completely up to them.
Yeah.
But the county themselves don't know.
Okay. But like, I guess the housing developers, they're buying the land
Yes.
sometimes, and,
Yes.
and they're giving them money for it, but in some cases, the original owners just decide, well, we'll just take the money and run and not build a new race.
It's not even that. It's just most of these facilities are over like 50 to 80 years old.
Yeah.
So back then, the cost of everything was tenfold what it is now. So most of the time, what they give them isn't even close to enough to build a new facility that can hold what runs today.
Yeah.
So.
You mentioned in the presentation, like, this needs to stop because it's putting racers on the streets, like they're
Yes.
out of jobs.
Not necessarily that they're out of jobs, but I mean, the amount of street racing incidents that we've had over the last couple of years are simply because there aren't tracks for them to be on, you know?
So I misunderstood what you were saying then. So you're saying because there's not racetracks, that some of these drivers are engaging in, like, illegal racing on the
Yes.
streets?
Yes.
Got it. That's really interesting. I feel like I've got more questions for you, but I can't think of any. I mean, this is just sort of like a more of a personal question. Like, how many of these strips have you been to?
I've only been to Virginia and Maryland, but I have followed all these tracks for many years of my life. So.
And what do you, I don't know a lot about this topic,
Yeah.
obviously. What do you have to do to participate in drag racing? Like, I mean, some of them are professionals, right?
Yes.
Some of them amateurs. pictures?
I mean, you could take a Prius to the track and run that, and like I mean, one of us could probably run that in the program that Virginia has, because they have a thing where I think if a parent rides with a kid that's like 10 or over, I think you can make a run down a track, and you can't run quicker than 10 seconds, which not that hard to do anyway. But I mean, that's one of the greatest things about drag racing is it can teach kids about it and get them interested in it and give them job opportunities. So,
All right. Any other questions for Ryan? All right, great job, man. What was that time?